You consider yourself kind and understanding, but to a predator, you look like easy prey that is asking to be slaughtered. The moment you justify someone else's disrespect with complex circumstances or a bad mood becomes the final point of your sovereignty. In the laws of dark psychology, a boundary check is not a test of your love, but a test of your suitability for further exploitation. If you allowed the line to be moved even by a millimeter, you lost the entire territory of your life. It is time to realize that your kindness is only a disguise for your fear. This disguise does not save you. It makes your boundaries an ideal target for any manipulator. You feel how your inner territory is slowly turning into a public thoroughfare where every passerby leaves dirty footprints of their egoism. You feel your voice becoming quieter and weaker every time you swallow another insult to avoid destroying the illusion of peace. Your chest feels too tight for your lungs because you are afraid to breathe deeply, afraid to take up too much space. Your body remembers every defeat, every small concession, turning them into muscle blocks that shackle your movements and make your gait uncertain and shaky. You feel physical nausea from the smell of hypocrisy that comes from your own words when you try to justify the one who just spat into your soul. This state is like a slow immersion into a swamp where every movement of yours only accelerates the process of absorption. You feel like a shadow in your own home, a guest in your own life because you gave the keys to your boundaries to those who will never appreciate this gesture. Peer into this feeling of emptiness that grows in your solar plexus every time you agree to what is unpleasant to you. You feel your dignity leaking out of you through thousands of small cracks that manipulators have made with their endless checks and tests. You feel physically exhausted as if you ran a marathon, although you just spent the day in the company of people who methodically destroyed your space. Your legs feel like cotton. They do not hold you because you have no support in yourself. This pain in the back of your head which does not go away, even after a long sleep, is your brain overloaded with constant analysis of others' reactions. You feel your thoughts spinning in an endless cycle, trying to predict where the next blow will be struck. This state of constant combat readiness in the complete absence of weapons turns your life into hell. You feel your skin becoming dry and lifeless because your body is in a state of chronic stress, directing all resources to survival under psychological occupation. Your eyes water from the bright light of the truth that you have tried to ignore for so long. You have become a slave to your own kindness, which in reality is only a form of cowardice in the face of possible conflict. You feel your personal space shrinking to the size of a tiny cage where you can barely move without touching the interests of others. Your breathing becomes shallow and frequent. You feel physical disgust toward yourself when you catch your reflection in the mirror and see a person with a dull gaze and slumped shoulders. This pain in your lower back, which prevents you from standing straight, is the weight of all those obligations you took upon yourself out of fear. You feel your personality being erased, turning into a faded spot that is easy to miss against the background of bright and aggressive egocentrics. Your existence has turned into an endless act of service to those who are not worth even your fleeting glance. Feel the cold penetrate your heart when you realize that the people you considered close are actually the main architects of your destruction. You feel the icy wind of loneliness even in a crowd because no one sees the real you. This pain in your jaw from eternally clenched teeth symbolizes your unspoken cry that is stuck in your throat as a lump of bitterness. You feel old and worn out, although your years say otherwise, because you lived thousands of lives for other people, forgetting to live your own. You feel your blood becoming thick and slow, as if not life but cold, lead flows in your veins. You feel heaviness in your every movement. It is hard for you to get out of bed, hard to start a new day. You know that this day will bring new humiliations and new attempts to take away the remnants of yourself. This pain in the heart area, which doctors call psychosomatics, is actually a bleeding wound from every instance when you betrayed your values for the sake of someone else's peace. You feel like an empty vessel from which all the contents have been drunk, leaving only a dry residue of disappointment. Feel this moment of absolute emotional bottom where your pain reaches its peak. You can no longer ignore this fire in your soul that burns everything that was dear to you. You feel a cold steel core of a new will beginning to be born in your stomach, which will no longer allow anyone to cross the line with impunity. Allow this pain to be reborn into an icy indifference to the whims of others and a steel determination to protect your territory at any cost. Your sovereignty begins exactly here, at this point of maximum suffering, when you realize that it cannot be worse and therefore it is time to build a new world on the ruins of the old. You feel your feelings returning to you, but now they are filled not with a thirst for approval, but with the cold calculation of a predator who has reclaimed his territory. You feel your spine straightening, your shoulders spreading, and your breathing becoming deep and calm. You are no longer a victim. You are the master of your space. Everyone who tries to check your boundaries will now face not your smile, but your icy Machiavellian gaze, in which there is not a drop of pity, but only a cold readiness to destroy any threat to your sovereignty. Your defeat is not an accident, but a mathematically verified result of your blindness. Machiavelli directly stated that people by nature are ungrateful, fickle, secretive, and cowardly in the face of danger. You made a fundamental error that psychologists call the cognitive bias of projection. You endowed predators with your qualities, and now you are surprised why they bite into your flesh. Your politeness is not a virtue. It is an absence of fang. Schopenhauer called this world an arena of struggle, of clashing wills, where every creature is embodied egoism, striving to expand its space at the expense of others. Your boundaries are not a concrete wall. They are a living front line that shifts every second. Machiavelli warned that a prince who wants to manifest his goodness in everything will inevitably perish among the multitude of those who are not good. Your goodness in the eyes of a manipulator is simply a neon sign saying everything here is free. Your inability to protect yourself is the result of the castration of your own shadow. The psychology of Carl Jung teaches that a person deprived of access to their dark side becomes not a saint, but merely an invalid. Until you recognize within yourself the right to a cold, calculating rage, you will remain an eternal victim whose only purpose is to serve the interests of others. Why do they continue to test you? Because you violated the supreme law of perception. It is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot combine both. Love is a fickle feeling based on gratitude which people neglect for the slightest benefit. But fear is a threat of punishment that never leaves the mind of the aggressor. Your refusal of power over your own life created a vacuum that was immediately filled by the ambitions of others. This is a natural law of nature, as indisputable as gravity. And being offended by it is as foolish as being offended by the rain. You must realize that every check of your boundaries is a biological filter. In the world of Machiavelli, every person constantly scans the hierarchy to understand which step they can be placed on. The psychology of power teaches that respect is not the result of your achievements. It is the result of your ability to set an exorbitant price for entry into your personal space. If the price is zero, then the value of yourself in the eyes of society is zero. Schopenhauer wrote that we lose 3/4 of ourselves to be like others, and your attempt to fit into the collective through concessions deprived you of the last quarter that made you a person of power. Your collapse began with a belief in justice, but Machiavelli made it clear, the right of the strong is the only right that actually functions in history and in private life. Every time you agree to an inconvenient request so as not to seem rude, you confirm your suitability for slavery. This is selection in action. If you do not protect your territory, then it does not belong to you. Your boundaries are not a diplomatic zone. They are minefields through which a predator walks with a metal detector while you stand and smile foolishly. The predator begins by testing your readiness to sacrifice your time for his minor whims. This starts with innocent 15-minute delays or sudden calls at moments when you are busy. A Machiavellian sovereign responds coldly and with surgical precision. My time is too expensive to waste on waiting for those who are unable to control their own schedule. Therefore, our meeting is cancelled, and the next opportunity will not appear soon. Louis XIV turned punctuality into a tool of terror at court, making nobles tremble at the thought that they might be late, even for a second. A manipulator enters your comfort zone without invitation, takes your personal items from the table, or allows himself over familiar touches. The strategic response must be icy. You stop the person with a look and state directly that you did not give permission to shorten the distance. Machiavelli pointed out that disrespect for personal boundaries is the first step toward the loss of property and life itself. Remember Caesar? He instantly suppressed any attempts at familiarity, maintaining such a distance that even his closest associates felt the abyss between themselves and the sovereign. They begin to compare you with someone else, evoking in you a sense of inferiority and forcing you to fight for pathetic crumbs of approval. Napoleon masterfully used this method, pitting his marshals against each other so that they sought only his gaze, depriving them of the will to independent thinking. Yourself is a constant that does not need comparison with variables. They deal you a painful blow, and when you show a reaction, they accuse you of lacking a sense of humor or being overly sensitive. The Machiavellian response is a dead silence and a direct, unblinking gaze. Machiavelli wrote that mockery is permissible only between equals, and only when it does not affect the dignity of the ruler. Remember Henry VIII. He did not forgive even fleeting witticisms directed at him, realizing that laughter is the first tool for the desacralizations of power. If you allowed yourself to be laughed at and remained silent, you permitted them to spit in your face. The manipulator begins to solve your problems for you, which you did not ask him to do, to create in you a toxic sense of debt. The Machiavellian sovereign cuts this connection at the root at the first signs of guardianship. Victor Hugo strictly suppressed the attempts of publishers to impose enslaving contracts on him under the guise of friendly support, preserving his freedom at any cost. Remember that free cheese is only in the trap set specifically for your neck. The manipulator begins to ask too many intimate questions, trying to feel out your pain points and weak spots. This is the collection of intelligence for future psychological attacks. Machiavelli taught that a prince must be impenetrable and dark like a bottomless well. Cardinal Richelieu built his colossal power on the fact that no one at court knew his true thoughts, while he himself pulled from those around him all their secrets to the last word. Every revelation of yours is a cartridge that you yourself put into the pistol of your enemy. You are humiliated in front of witnesses to fix your insignificant status in the social hierarchy. The Machiavellian sovereign delivers a counter-strike immediately, harshly, and in front of everyone. Machiavelli warned that a public insult is an open challenge that requires immediate and exemplary punishment. Frederick the Great never left unanswered the mockery of foreign ambassadors, understanding that his reputation was the foundation of his army. If you did not protect your name before the crowd will trample you along with your offender. Look at these levels once again and understand that this is not just a list. It is the stages of your slow extinction as a personality. You feel your will weakening with every missed attack that you chose not to notice. In the world of dark psychology, there are no trifles, and any encroachment on your boundaries is an official declaration of war on your sovereignty. While you try to be good and seek excuses for the insolent, you're simply making the task easier for your future executioners. Your fear of appearing aggressive is your main enemy. This fear was bred in you to make you a compliant cog in someone else's machine. But Machiavelli taught that it is better to be a stern ruler than a soft failure. Your boundaries must be guarded with the same rage with which a lion guards its prey. If you are not ready to go into conflict for the sake of protecting yourself, then you do not have this self. It means you are just an empty form that can be filled with any content at the master's will. From now on, you must perceive every social interaction as a test of your strength. Do not seek friendship, seek respect. Do not seek love, seek recognition of your sovereignty. Your armor must be cold and impenetrable, and your counter-strikes fast and final. A Machiavellian sovereign does not explain his boundaries. He establishes them. Do you feel this sharp, almost physical spasm in your throat? This is your suppressed pride trying to break out through the layers of polite silence with which you strangled yourself for years. Your resistance to these words, your attempt right now to find an excuse for your tormentors, is not kindness. It is the Stockholm syndrome of a slave who fell in love with his chains. You are afraid to admit that you are a convenient tool, because this admission will destroy your fragile picture of the world where good people receive a reward. Machiavellian Stoicism teaches us that the only true freedom is complete, absolute independence from the expectations of others. You must realize that your soul is a fortress and not a roadside tavern where every passerby can leave their trash. You are obligated to become unreachable for manipulation, cold and impenetrable like a basalt rock against which the waves of someone else's egocentrism break into dust. Feel this icy emptiness in your chest as the beginning of your liberation. Your self-control is your supreme manifesto of power. Machiavelli emphasized that a prince must build his foundation only on what is in his personal power, and your boundaries are the first and last line of your defense. You stop being a splinter carried by the current of someone else's moods and turn into a monolith that changes the course of the river itself. Your power is in your ability to maintain icy calm when the world around you is choking in hysteria, demanding your participation. You are no longer a resource. You are a subject of power whose silence weighs more than thousands of words of your enemies. Your fear of being misunderstood is shackles that you must break right now. He who fears judgment has already lost the battle for his sovereignty. Every trifle, every fleeting violation of your distance is a check of your readiness for submission. Either you strike back immediately, or you agree to the role of a follower. In the world of dark psychology, there is no neutral zone. There is only dominance or slavery. Imagine a colossal ancient glacier that has been moving across the ocean for millions of years. It is impossible to stop. It cannot be persuaded to change its route, and it absolutely does not care about the cries of those who found themselves in its path. It simply exists, and its colossal mass in itself is a law for the surrounding space. You are obligated to become this glacier. Your principles and your boundaries must possess such a density that any attempt to break through them causes the aggressor shock and the realization of their own insignificance before your will. Your new life begins with the ashes of your old reputation as a good guy. This image was your prison, which you yourself kept clean and in order. To burn this image means to gain true power. You enter it as a master, whose right to the territory is not discussed. Your boundaries are now sacred because they are washed in the blood of your past grievances and tempered in the flame of your new understanding of power. Your path to the summit of self-control lies through the recognition that you are alone in your struggle for sovereignty. And this loneliness is your main privilege. Schopenhauer wrote that a person can be himself only as long as he is alone, and your distance is a way to keep this self intact. Your will now is not a request, but an order to reality itself. Your presence is a gift that you withdraw at the slightest sign of disrespect. You have become the embodiment of Machiavellian Stoicism, where every step of yours is calibrated, and every boundary of yours is guarded by legions of your cold, calculating intellect. If you feel that a lion has finally awakened in you, if you are ready to drop the mask of a convenient tool and take your place in the hierarchy of masters, then your path lies in our closed legion. There is no room for pity and excuses there, only technologies of dominance over circumstances and the art of turning pain into absolute power. Your time as a victim has officially and finally come to an end. Join the ranks of those who chose the path of the lion and the fox, those who write the rules of their own game. Your empire awaits its sovereign, and that sovereign is you.